Hey there, welcome to the Gyro Step, your eagerly anticipated Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and GSPN, presented by our pals at PrizePicks, where you can use promo code GYROSTEP to get $50 when you play $5 for the first time, win or lose. Just go to our description. You can find our friends at PrizePicks there. I say eagerly anticipated. Rohan, I don't know if you saw this. Like 5 different people messaged me saying, "Where's the pod? Where's the pod? Where's the pod?" It had been a few days since we recorded. Our weekend schedules were hectic. You bravely battled an illness. But now we're here to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks 4-game winning streak. Rohan, I know you're going through it, but how's it going? And I guess how's it going related to the Bucks specifically?
It's going well. I've powered through a sickness. Make sure everyone you're keeping clean, washing your hands, being hygienic. A lot of things going around.
Yeah.
Make sure you're just up to date and making sure you're staying clean because having a fever for like 3 days is not fun.
No.
I will say, not fun at all. But what's kept me going in that time, Ty, knowing that I could come back and talk with my great friend Ty Windisch about the Milwaukee Bucks and how they're powering through. They're winning games. They're showing these guys new lives. Kyle Kuzma's out here on Instagram saying, I can't remember the last time I won 4 games in a row, which is really sad.
I'm going to see if I can find this on the pod.
But the Bucks they're winning some games. They go into the All-Star break
God.
with what?
I mean, just the amount of red when you look at the Wizards basketball reference page this year is crazy. They did have a 3-game winning streak.
This year?
Yes.
Wow.
I don't know if Kuz was still on the team. This was early February.
That's crazy because that's a third of their wins.
Yeah, literally a third of their there's 3 different red dots and then 3 different bullet green, which are the wins, then 30 red. And then there's a random 3-game winning streak. They had one of those last year too. Just one.
Oh, man.
Just one. It's a lot of red, dude. 15 and 67. Yeah, you're not going to have many. The last time Kyle Kuzma won 4 consecutive basketball games was January 2023.
That's insane.
So it's been over 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's rough. They won. The Wiz had a 6-game winning streak. Let's see if the Bucks can do that. 2 away. 2 away from an even longer winning streak for Kuz.
Yeah. Well, they head into the All-Star break with a W like we talked about last time. They beat the Timberwolves without Dame or Giannis. And coming out of the All-Star break, they're red hot. They beat the Clippers, where Giannis does play, which we were really worried about seeing whether he's going to play, along with Dame. They beat the Wizards in an emotional game with Chris on a back-to-back where Giannis, again, does play, which is crazy. We'll talk about that. And then the latest win against the Miami Heat, where it's Dame and Giannis. They're back. They're playing together. They're at home, and things are starting to roll. And let me tell you what, this team is starting to roll. You come out of the All-Star break with just crazy news about Bobby Portis being suspended for 25 games. Still crazy to wrap our head around.
We haven't talked about that on the podcast.
We haven't. You're right.
We talked about that on our Bleacher Report stream.
We did our Bleacher Report stream, which is, by the way, you can find in the BR app. We do it Thursdays at 4 p.m. Central. We'll tweet about it. It's in our Discord as well, which you can find the entry link to at gspn.info at the About page.
Yep.
Good little plug there. But yeah, Thursdays at 4 o'clock Central, we're talking in the BR app. Make sure you come join. But yeah, we haven't really talked about that on pod. That's a good call. Should we start with that?
Yeah, we'll do it quickly. I mean, it's old hat now. I would say the Bucks are responding to that better than I'd anticipated thus far. And both of us, I mean, we were both pretty concerned. And I do think it's going to be, the games Giannis does miss, which he's trying to play more, even if he has to play fewer minutes per game, which I think is smart. I do think he's going to miss some. We talked about it, way back when the schedule for the season was released. The Bucks are almost now to this true gauntlet. And I know I've seen people post 14 in the next 17 are against teams above 500. That's tough. Starting in March 4th or 5th or whatever, they don't have 2 consecutive rest days for about a full month. And most of the teams are good. So I think Giannis will probably miss some time. In those games is when Portis is really going to be missed. One thing I did point out, though, on our stream opens up a real opportunity for the walls of Jericho, Jericho Sims, Sim City, a lot of nicknames. I know Marcus Johnson, hopeful Hall of Famer this year, used walls of Jericho, so I think that's going to be the one. I'm in favor of that because while it's also a random reference, he is like a really good screener too, so I think it really works. But anyway, Portis, it's the scoring load is going to be the big thing, and I'd say thus far, Kuzma has stepped up in almost every game, and Kevin Porter Jr. has been a very important scorer for the Bucks. And then Sims is playing more because of this, and he doesn't score almost at all. He has 2 points this season, but he does help other Bucks score. With the Bucks, yes, thank you. In 3 games, I think. He does help other Bucks score. He has 9 screen assists in that time. And just his defensive malleability and switchability has been huge. So they've weathered it well so far. 22 games, I believe, to go for Big Bob. So it won't be back until the very, very end of this season.
So there are 4 games left.
Well, there's 4 games left. And we found out through what Doc said about it, the Bucks did know. So it was kind of like a back and forth thing with the league before the hammer came down. Bob chose and his agent chose, and Doc talked about it like it was also his call. I mean, Doc's just like always involved.
Everything that comes through the Bucks is Doc's call. That's what I'm realizing.
All roads eventually lead to Doc Rivers, to Glenn. But they chose not to appeal because, while you appeal, it doesn't start yet, right? So while maybe you could win, and we don't think he would win because he did take a tramadol, which is on the banned list. Toradol is not. Kids,
but also maybe admitted to a crime.
Potentially, he's rich in America. You can take any prescription drugs you want. Yeah. But he took it, and it's on
allegedly,
the list, and that's
by
it.
The way.
Well, no, I think everything I said is confirmed as true by Bobby Portis' camp.
That's true. That is true.
I didn't say whose prescription.
Yes.
But he admitted to taking a prescription drug.
Prescription.
A prescription banned by the NBA. So it is what it is. It's a tough penalty, especially if you're an NBA player. But again, really everyone, make sure you, take drugs that are prescribed to you and know what they are, is my advice on that one. But yeah, I don't know. I think they've weathered it really well. They haven't lost a game since. Which if they do really well in these 25 games is going to be nasty ammo against Big Bob, unfortunately. But a net win is still a net win.
Yeah, and this is probably part of the reason why they couldn't trade him at the trade deadline. If this is something that was well known within not only the Bucks circles, but if the Bucks are having conversations with teams about Bobby Portis, it's like you gotta tell them this, otherwise that trade's gonna be rescinded real quick.
Yeah. Hornet style.
Yeah. If the Lakers can rescind a trade based on them not really liking some of the things they probably already knew about Mark Williams, imagine what other teams could do if they found out, yeah, we traded for Big Bob. Oh, you guys knew he had a suspension pending?
Yeah.
That wasn't going to happen. So that's probably the reason that they weren't able to trade him at the trade deadline and that all this is happening. And one thing I don't think we said regarding all this, sucks. Really sucks.
Yeah.
Bad. It's not good. It's very bad.
No, it's extremely unfortunate. And literally the vibe going into the first game post break was like, we're finally going to see the whole existing Bucks team for like one of the first times of the season. And this happens pretty much immediately. So very unfortunate. But again, maybe that's why they acquired him in the first place. The silver lining has been Jericho Sims busting the rotation and plays well. One other suspension note. Jim Ozarski of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
Friend of the pod. Close personal friend of the pod.
Notes on the MKE Bucks subreddit. Probably other places as well, but that's where I saw this. Jim posts. So Kevin Porter Jr.'s criminal record cleared from 2023 assault. So this apparently was not reported earlier, although it happened previously. But since KPJ fulfilled the terms of his 2024 plea deal, he no longer has a criminal record associated with that incident. So again, this does not mean he didn't do it. He pled that he did it, but just from a legal standpoint, the reporting was original, like after the agreement was reached, that there was like a program, you have to go through it. He did that part at least. So there's not been something that's happened since then. Jim followed up in the comments. You got to really go through everywhere to find all the big Jim nuggets. He said, this is a quote, "I am curious about the NBA investigation. They could definitely hammer him if they want, or they could go the way they did with Miles Bridges, and say, well, you were out of the NBA for a year, so we'll suspend you for X games. But I imagine the Bucks would like to have that settled before the postseason." So is that why KPJ was, I mean, no disrespect to your son, Marjan Beauchamp, basically free? He could miss games at some point too on the suspension note. We just don't know.
Which is just the icing on the cake, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this guy who I will go on and say I do not enjoy cheering for at all, and I won't. I don't cheer for him. Is someone who has cemented himself in this Bucks rotation and
he's playing extremely well.
Yeah, and can still face a suspension. Like, yeah, awesome, great, incredible.
I just wonder when that would be resolved.
I don't know.
Like, at this point, the confusing thing to me is I don't know. And again, I don't think this was like breaking news that the case was then cleared. Like, it's not like Jim in his post said this was not reported when he was with the Clippers, implying that it probably happened then. I don't know what else the league would be waiting on, because I thought for Bridges, it was like he signed back in the league and it was sitting out, and then basically the league was like, okay, now that you're back, here's your suspension. I don't know what would trigger it from the NBA side. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, that could be, KPJ has become very important to the Bucks very quickly, as unfortunate as that may be. And it would be, it's just from a purely basketball sense, pretty tough if right before the playoffs, the NBA is just like, yeah, that guy's not available in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. It's a situation that we can't really predict, really. It's a good question. I don't know what the trigger would be, but it's just, we have to wait and see.
Yeah.
How about our Bucks legal segment?
Yeah, we got to wrap that up.
What a great time.
Yeah. But the Bucks have been having a legitimately great time.
Yes.
Should we start with Kuzma? The big name. We talked a bit about KPJ and Sims already. Maybe we'll do some more.
No.
And Sims?
No, we're starting with Giannis.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, sorry. No, we have to. We can't.
Okay.
What I've seen, I want to go on a little talk about Giannis.
Go ahead.
What we've seen from Giannis these last couple games is an era of Giannis that I didn't think we would be seeing so quickly. We are seeing a Giannis who is clearly limited by a minutes restriction, coming off an injury where he missed a bunch of time and had to rest and recover. And he has had to capitalize on his minutes. We have seen versions of Giannis where he just goes out there for every minute that he's out there. He goes as hard as he can. He plays as hard as he can every single possession down the court. And it doesn't matter, because he's just going to play his heart out no matter what. He can't really do that right now. He has to be on a minutes restriction. He's clearly a little frustrated about it, but also understands that he needs to be available for the postseason. However, what this has sort of unlocked from Giannis is a game manager, game-wrecking type Giannis that I do not think we have ever seen before. And I know it was against lesser competition. Probably the least competition, the Washington Wizards. But you see him come in that fourth quarter in like a 5 or 6 minute stretch and just completely change the game. Just completely say, hey, we're down. No, we're not. We're winning this game, and I'm going to do it in 5 minutes. And that's all it's going to be. I'm going to come in here for 5 minutes. I'm going to win us this game, and that's going to be it. We have never seen a version of Giannis be able to just completely dissect and take apart NBA teams like we are seeing in this stretch. You see it against the Wizards. You can also see it against the Clippers, a very good team who might be a sneaky championship contender this season. Who have built. I understand.
It's pretty sneaky.
It would be very sneaky.
Undetectable.
But a very strong wing defending team in the Los Angeles Clippers, who have a lot of bodies to throw at Giannis and can throw 4 or 5 of them at once. And they also have Kawhi Leonard, So if he can go out there and just decisively take over against teams like that, he can do it against teams like the Heat he can do it against. Like whatever team you really want to see, because those are three very, very different basketball teams. I mean, the Wizards are a turnstile. I get that. The Clippers are a very wing-heavy defensive team. The Heat are a very systematic, we're going to throw everything at you type defense. Those are very different schemes, very different personnel, very different teams. Giannis saw all of them and said, okay, in these next 4 minutes, I'm going to break your soul.
Yeah.
And he did. I think that is the single, I can't even talk, single best thing you could ever hope to see from Giannis. Because we have seen so many different versions of Giannis, from the famed run and dunk man to trying to be like a 3-point spacing threat under Bud and just trying a bunch of different things, 1-on-5 type attacks, to him now just getting the ball in whatever position he wants and going to work. He doesn't need to be set up in a certain space. He doesn't like an exact spot. He doesn't need to post up on the block. He doesn't need to get the ball at the wing, the elbow. He can get the ball wherever. He will plan of attack. He will move his teammates to where he needs them to go, and he will orchestrate and get a good shot out of every single play that you want him to. And that is not a version of Giannis that I thought we were going to see for another like 2 years. But we're seeing it now, and that gives me the brightest hope out of all of this stretch. We can talk about Kyle Kuzma, Jericho Sims, Kevin Porter Jr., Damian Lillard, another guy, and how all of this is going to turn around and help the Bucks win a title. That's also fair. All of that is fair. The single most important thing is Giannis and this development, in my opinion.
On this 3-game winning streak, so for the season, he's shooting 46% from mid-range, which is very good. One of the best high-volume marks in the league. In this win streak in the games he's played in it, he's up to 50%, making 2 of 4 middies per game. Also 50% in the paint non-restricted area, and then 82% in the restricted area. He's just been absolutely unguardable, and it's a great point. We don't start with Giannis often enough, and we should, because I had this thought watching the what was the last one? The Heat game. Just like, this is a flawed basketball team with a near flawless player in the middle, and that's why they have a chance. And they went on the run in the fourth quarter without him, which was a breath of fresh air to see that happen for once. But overall, in this recent streak, it has been, okay, we are dominating the honest minutes, and we are treading water in the other minutes. Usually worse than that, but we're trying to tread water in the other minutes. Being able to see him go from about 24 to about 31 minutes on the restriction just made such a huge difference in that game. I mean, the Bucks really probably should not be on this winning streak right now, because they had to close games out with no Giannis, which is just, I mean, once he fouled out of one of the games, was it the Clipper? No. Is that the Wizards game?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a weird game. And just was also on the minutes restriction, and then same had the 24-minute restriction against the Clippers. But in his minutes, he was just so sensational. And it feels like he's bringing more defensive energy right now as well. I don't know if it's, again, like the team just added a lot of athleticism, and it's allowing them to do some different things defensively that has really popped. I mean, how many times do we talk about, like, this team just doesn't, they need to play Andre Jackson Jr. because no one else can run and jump. They added 3 guys who can and who, frankly, are just more skilled than Ajax at this point in his career. And it's made a huge difference for the team and for Giannis. And just one of the most fascinating parts about this is, I agree with you. I mean, it's been like the best Giannis we've seen. The spacing isn't really that good around him, and it just hasn't mattered. And I will say, I the Jericho Sims talk, it's like, oh, that, people should have had a player like this for years. I don't know if until like the last couple of seasons at most, if this would have worked like this. And, again, I think bringing in Dame was a big part of it too, because that flips the floor offensively. But also just how good Giannis is now. And this last season, I think 2 out of the last 3 seasons, has been able to rely on that mid-range a little bit more. But this year more than ever, that's a huge difference in how the Bucks can operate and who they can pair with him going forward.
Yeah. It's a real Giannisance.
Nice.
Is that anything?
Maybe.
It might be.
Giannisance.
And
Giannisance.
Giannis sounds? I'll get in the lab. I'll cook a little bit.
Yeah, cook on that one. But good call with Giannis. Not the greatest run for Dame, although he was pretty good against Miami. I think he's still feeling that. Is it hammy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a groin?
No, maybe it was groin. It was groin, maybe. Or maybe it was both. Yeah.
I think it was both.
Yeah.
Because they said hammy for All-Star. I think it's both. Hamstring, groin. Just make sure you're all right, Dame.
Yeah.
It's so funny whenever the Bucks... I love the Bucks' new social team, by the way, this season. I can't say enough. But it's like, after they beat the Heat, and it's just like, they tweet out, oh, it's nice to have Dame as our point guard. It's like...
I didn't even put that together until now. About like I was just like, yeah, it is. I didn't even, because the Heat tried and failed.
Yeah, because they wanted Dame as their point guard, but guess what? He's our point guard.
Not bad enough. And I will say, it burns me. Hero's freaking nice, man.
Yeah, he's good.
He's super nice. That push dribble he uses when he's like splitting a couple of defenders, sick, dude. It's really hard to guard that. Good player.
You know who isn't good?
Who?
Davion Mitchell.
At least I can respect him. I will say I feel validated. A lot of guys on my Derek Jones Jr. matrix are now starting games for teams. Chris Dunn, starter. Davion Mitchell probably shouldn't be, but starter. And there's another one too we got to see recently where I was like, yeah.
Wiggins?
No, well, I was lower on Wiggins. Well, I mean, yeah, Wiggins is starting too, but I forget who else it was.
Was it Kuz?
No, I don't think I got to Kuz because his speed was so slow because he just didn't try that hard in Washington.
Plus actual Derek Jones Jr.
Yeah, plus actual Derek Jones Jr. as well. Jalen McDaniels, not as much of a hit, mostly playing in the G League at this point. Kyle Kuzma, though, the PJ Washington thing just works.
I guess it does.
It just like a skilled, big, athletic player in an absolute dumpster fire. And I think the teams can do a little bit of reconnaissance on this of like, hey, would you like to be on a good team? And maybe they don't. Maybe they're just like, we're pretty sure everyone works like that. But if we bring you here and plop you in next to really good players, are you just going to work really hard? So far for Kuzma, the answer has been yes, and the results have been undeniably positive. The thing about him is, it's so fitting that he is in essence replacing Chris Middleton because they're both cyclical players, but Chris's cycles were like 3 weeks. Kuzma's are in-game. He will have. He has moved, I think, once on the Bucks stock market, and every game I've watched him, I think he's played 7 games with the Bucks. Either at halftime, I'm either saying, "Wow, 2 down stocks for Kuz," or "Man, Kuzma's gonna rapidly ascend on the Bucks stock market." And then the other half, it flips every single game. Sometimes quarter by quarter. Like
sometimes it's possession by possession.
Yeah, like it's so hard to have a feel for like, oh, is that a good 3 ball or not? And he's not shooting well, so you could say usually not, but the spacing element is important for the Bucks.
He'll hit a clutch go ahead 3 against the Heat.
Yeah, like he does not seem like a player who gets in his head. I mean, he's got the confidence, that's for sure.
There's a lot of other things going on in his head to worry about.
That's true. That is true. It just, as long as it's just dumb tweets, you know what? We've had bigger burdens to bear. But his newsletter's got some. I'm subscribed to the Kuzma newsletter, so I'm reading up on what he's up to and the music he's listening to and stuff. But yeah, I thought it was adorable that he was just like thrilled about this 4-game winning streak. I know there's a number floating around. I think was it our guy Dalton Sell at Behind the Buck Pass maybe who shared. Opponents are shooting 25% against him, which is like best in the league in that span. Those numbers are always a little bit noisy, but I'll just say he's playing really well defensively. Mm-hmm. And I thought the best I've seen from him was the close of that Heat game, where they just said, we're done trying out all of our various 2-guard options. None of them are working. Let's just do what teams do to Dame and put size on the small guy. And it worked really well. And it was exciting to see that.
Well, put athletic size.
Athletic size, yeah.
Because we'll talk about someone else who they tried.
Well, yeah, it's if you're talking Prince, I don't even count. He's not even size. He's
like
just there.
6'7", isn't he?
He's a 3-ball machine.
Yeah.
And not derogatory and positive. But that's it.
So it's a wash.
Yeah. It is what
I'm
it is.
not saying anything about you, TV.
It is what it is. Like those robots that they have, that's what they do. That's him. Except it's not, unfortunately. I don't want to get distracted by TP.
You'd rather have a robot?
No, unfortunately, that's not all that he does, because sometimes he'll be like, I think I'm going to do a Gyro Step skyhook. He comports himself on the court like he's a superstar, by the way.
You know, it's the Isaac Okoro wheel, right? Where it's like, you know, who am I going to play like?
Yes.
Well, it should be like the Torian Prince wheel, because that's
100%.
possession by possession.
Yeah.
Or is it the Karis LeVert wheel? I can't remember.
No, it must have been Karis. I don't think Okoro's ever. I think the Cavs fans would just be if he just did something. Yeah. They'd be like, oh, good. He's alive offensively.
But Kuzma.
Been good. And I thought, as tough as it is to say, and actually, I don't think I saw this angle explored as much as I would have expected after that game. The fact that he just straight up outplayed Chris and the Bucks won that game with Giannis on the restriction and fouling out and no Dame, it kind of sums up why the Bucks had to do it.
Yeah.
And it's been the right move. Like the deadline as a whole has been the right move thus far. It's been like 2 weeks of basketball. It's too early to definitively say, but it sure looks like it's exactly what this team needed. And I mean, Chris, the Bucks were like, they knew how to handle Chris. Like Giannis and I think Kuz would guard him. Or no, not Kuz. It was the guys who have been around him all year. Maybe AJ Green. Like when they aggressively defended him, it was just tough for Chris to get loose, and that's just how it is. And if you give him a little space, he can always pull, and he had some nice makes. But I think it's John Horst may have cooked here.
It's still sad. Like I think we even said this on our reaction pod.
Yeah,
like it's sad. It's really sad, but.
His quotes are sad. I mean, I'm glad that he's just kind of gets it, Chris.
Yeah.
It's still sad.
I know. You don't want to see one of your heroes go out like this.
No.
Especially just like a pillar of your franchise. But
yeah,
it's looking more and more like it made a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, they needed juice, athletic juice. Like every time Kuzma or whoever, KPJ, Sims dunks. I mean, Sims is one buck. It was a nice dunk. You're just like, oh man, have missed. I remember when we went through the dunk numbers.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, it's the non-Giannis and Brook Lopez Bucks never dunk. And Brook is not exactly, springing to the rim. It's got to be much right there.
We were throwing celebrations on the broadcast for Bobby Portis catching his first lob as a Buck, man.
He's got as many caught tramadolls as lob dunks.
Oh no, Ty.
It's not a great stat.
He's been suspended for more games than he has laptops.
Oh, definitely that.
Oh man, already it's only game.
How many dunks does he have in his career?
That's a good question. Maybe as a Buck, it might be.
That would be a crazy stat.
Man, you're 6'10", man. Like. If I was 6'10", all I would do was dunk.
No, he's dunked his career high. He dunked 27 times his first year with the Bucks.
I don't believe that.
Not lobs, of course, but just all dunks.
Okay.
He had 7 dunks
this season.
7 dunks.
So he's going to be suspended for more games than he has dunks this season.
Unless he has the craziest last 4 games of the season. He just comes back yoked, flying around like Zion.
If he comes back yoked, he's going to get suspended again.
Double jeopardy. Double jeopardy. They can't try a husband and wife for the same crime.
I don't think that's what double jeopardy is.
That's an Arrested Development reference.
Oh, it is?
No. Yes, it is.
I've seen that show.
Yeah. Henry Winkler, the legend.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say
He's not a good lawyer.
No. I'm imagining Bob just coming back the last 4 games, just throwing down Tomahawk.
Hey, maybe the way the Bucks are playing right now, they're playing real fast and loose. Maybe it's going to be like the Globetrotters to end the year.
I will say, there's not a lot of. I don't even know how do I even say this? How do we even start this? Like, what's Bob's role look like when he comes back? Because Jericho Sims.
Dude. Oh, just the Jericho Sims dub feels sensational.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a clear skill set, and the results have been basically instantaneous. The screening, though, I didn't even know about. I mean, the way he in like his second game, and I think it was for like Kevin Porter Jr., sprinted to set a screen. Now it's just like you don't see that often enough, really ever, when you watch the Milwaukee Bucks. You know,
I don't think you've never
screener.
seen that.
The closest, probably like AJ Green.
And it's
Because
not
he
even the
loves to
same
screen, but it's
caliber of
not. No,
screen.
no, he's just not big enough, of course. But
And he's
the
going up
popping,
there to do the pat flip anyway.
yeah, he's flipping and popping. But I got to be careful with the verbs I use when but but Sims just like doing all the things that are important for a big man to do to help with winning constantly. I think he's taken like 2 shots in 3 games. I don't care if he stays on that shot volume forever. I don't care if all he does is finish dunks. The things he's doing are tremendously helpful. And I think a bright spot is his rim protection numbers aren't even crazy. It's like he's holding defenders within 6 feet to like 2% worse than their season averages, which is pedestrian, like good defensive player, not great, not like the crazy numbers he had with the Knicks. But he's not really there much. The switching on defense is what's really helped them.
That's not like I'm not even worried about the rim protection numbers because that's not even what matters to me the most. What matters to me the most is seeing the Bucks have a quick big man who can go out, switch onto the perimeter, be okay, rotate back to the rim, and still be able to deter shots, and then need to go out to the perimeter again and be okay. Like that's incredible. You know what the Bucks are looking like with Jericho Sims, Ty? A modern actual NBA team.
I thought you were going back to the well of like the 14 Spurs.
No. No. I'm not there. But they look like an actual modern NBA team. Which is crazy.
They can do the things that they could only do previously with Giannis at the 5, but without having to go super small.
And you don't even have to have Giannis.
Well, that's what I mean. So they're not, they just have more options. Because it used to be like, okay, we can go small if we have Giannis out there and Giannis at the 5. And then that obviously reduces, either your other center minutes or more load on Giannis and what he has to do defensively. And, we can be honest here. It's been better in this winning streak. Giannis's defensive effort waxes and wanes throughout the long regular season, as of course it does. And, even in the playoffs, like it's just hard to go 100% both ways. And he's going to be 35, 12, and 6 or whatever every game on the other end, mostly. Like, that's energy consuming. So to have another switchable 5 who the difference between Jericho Sims and Giannis is, and other superstars on the team, Damian Lillard, Taurean Prince, according to Taurean Prince, is he can sell out and just do all the dirty stuff and not care. Taurean Prince is like, how how much energy I need for offense? Enough to jump toward the rim and set screens. That's all I'm going to do. And the minutes load is just different. He's the backup center. He doesn't have to play 40 minutes in a playoff game. He can just come in, work his ass off for however many minutes, and that's it. And Giannis in his post game after the Heat game, 2 different times talking about Sims was like, we got to get that guy some more shots because he's just working so hard on the other end. Like that kind of thing stands out to the team. And I know it's like it's another option in addition to Giannis. The Sims Giannis lineup was also really fun because now you can switch everything, but you're so big too. It's really a win-win defensively of, we're not giving up any room on the glass. Like we're not, we're huge. Offensively, it's going to be a process, but those lineup ideas intrigue me as well.
Yeah. It's really intriguing because that's one thing we were talking about in anticipation of the trade deadline and hopefully them getting a center is how would that guy work with Giannis? And the one guy we kept coming back to was Robert Williams, right? And it's like, oh, you could see him working with Giannis because they can be so big. He can play alongside Giannis. And he's a vertical spacing threat that works. Is Jericho Sims just Rob Will at home?
I'll take one L from our previous takes. Rob Williams, knee swelling. Availability TBD at the moment.
Ooh.
That would have been bad. It wasn't worth the risk. Yeah, I think Jericho Sims can be. I mean, he's not going to be ever as good defensively as Robert Williams when he's able to play.
Because Robert Williams is a defensive player of the year level defender when he's on the court.
Yeah, and Robert Williams would have costed you, again, with the Blazers take Big Bob, the whole thing going on, whatever. Put that aside for a moment. Big Bob's salary level and probably a first round pick. So the cost difference, again, the thing about Sims, Giannis has said Kevin Porter Jr. is to steal the deadline. Sims was DeLon Wright in cash. I mean, that's up there. I mean, I guess straight up Beauchamp is on that level too. But just those two guys, for how little the Bucks gave up to get them, is pretty wild. And again, they were cast-offs, but they've Milwaukee had just the exact situation for them, and it's working out well right now.
Yeah, it was a cast-off for cast-off trade, but it's like the people they were getting back have now found a role in Milwaukee.
Yeah, the Bucks cast-offs were. No, they're not doing the same thing.
No.
I mean, Kevin Porter Jr. and Marjon Beauchamp and DeLon Wright, I don't think will play a meaningful minute of basketball for the rest of this season.
No.
Maybe
I thought you were going to say ever.
Maybe ever. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. But that's just wild. Those two in cash for these two guys has been an absolute coup. And then Kuzma, again, as we talked about, has played really... Anything else on Kuzma? I do want to say, I'm tracking the efficiency and like the 3-point shooting. It's really bad, 29.7% on 5 attempts per game. If anything, like maybe just take a few less. I said this on, I think, our first reaction pod, though. I don't really need him to be the 36% shooter. It'd be great. I'll take it. I think the rim pressure and defense are important enough to the team that it can be fine. I mean, they're winning his minutes so far. It is fine at the moment. But what are your thoughts on that and just him as a shooter?
I think him as a shooter is not necessarily needed as much. It's just like a guy who can break down a defense, right? Yeah. And make a right pass. It's like spacing is not all about 3-point shooting. It's about how much attention you garner as an offensive player, right? It's about spreading out your defense. Another way to like spread out the defense is to make multiple defenders come to you so you free up the rest of the floor. That's another element of spacing. It's like if you break a guy down off the dribble and you can get another second defender to come chase you or come try and tag you at least, you're freeing up space for another player on the court, like an AJ Green, like a Gary Trent Jr., like these shooters out there, Damian Lillard, who I keep forgetting about for some reason. Brain still not fully there yet.
Yeah, you're getting there.
It's like a weird haze. I hate like the sickness brain. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But it's just like that's more. There's more to spacing, so you can. I don't necessarily think he needs to be like a knockdown 3-point shooter, like you said. I'll take it. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Yeah. But what he's doing now, I think, is fine. I'm even okay with him taking this amount of threes, because it's like, what if it goes in?
Yeah, he's kind of Lopez level to me, where you're just like, I'm not expecting them mostly to go in, but if he hits 2 in a row, you're just like, that's just absolutely brutal for your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the cost of doing business is they take and miss, and then when they get hot, it's like, okay, this is awesome. We'll talk about Lopez, KPJ, starting lineup is a big discussion, but first we'll talk about our favorite thing to talk about every single pod, our close dear friend Prize Picks, Mr. Prize Picks, who you can win. I don't know what I'm doing with that, but Prize Picks is great. I do know what I'm doing there because it's the best place to get real money sports action. More than 10 million members, billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. We got, obviously, men's basketball in full swing right now. Women's basketball with a certain 3v3 league also going strong at the moment. And you know what? Spring training has started. I don't know. I'm guessing we probably are not doing prize picks for baseball quite yet, but clearly that's coming up soon as well. So make sure to sign up today because on prize picks, you can get your deposits quick. It's the best way to get in on the action in more than 30 states, including Wisconsin, California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. And they invented the flex play. Rohan and I love the flex play. You can pick 3, 4, 5, or 6 player projections. You don't have to get all of them, and you can still win. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So as I mentioned up top, sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Win or lose. All you have to do is go download the Prize Picks app today, use code Eurostep, and then you get that $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That is the Prize Picks app. You can find links in all of our descriptions. Code Eurostep should auto-populate, but if it doesn't, make sure to credit your friends so you can get your $50. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay. We talked about him a little bit. I agree with you just in terms of rooting for this player, but I think there's just confusion. Like, we'll still talk about what's going on with the Bucks. We're not going to lie about what we're seeing. Kevin Porter Jr. is playing very well. Here's my biggest concern. The mid-range shot selection to me, it feels...
It's kind of insane, right?
It feels tenuous. I think
also my biggest concern is the suspension.
That's also fair. In terms of actual, the ongoing basketball, he's making enough of them right now for sure. I am worried that, a drought there could make some of those shots look very bad. He has not had a game, though, where he's had a sustained drought period. Has led a couple of fourth quarter comebacks for the Bucks, and
multiple 5-7 point runs just out in his zone.
Yeah, the rim pressure, though, it makes me think he shouldn't bottom out as a glaring negative, as long as he doesn't basically only take the mid range shots, right? If he's just mixing up his shot selection with those and also getting to the rim, I think it'll be okay. I think he could still be a useful bench point guard. And the defense has been pretty good. I don't think it's great. There's just some misses, like when he kind of gets anticipatory and lunges for the ball and gets left behind. But when he sticks with the ball carrier, I'm watching too much combine stuff. He's effective as an on-ball defender. It's this week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Make sure you listen to Talk of the Tundra, so you don't have to listen to me pretend to know about football.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you anything about the combine. I just know it's this week. Is
that in Green Bay too?
No, it's always in Indy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why Indy?
I can't tell you.
Why is everything in Indy? How did Indy get an All-Star game before Milwaukee?
It's in the middle.
But it's not. Whatever.
Yeah,
we're not going to pick a fight with another city. This never ended well with me in Toronto.
Fair. But almost 10 points per game, 56% from the field, 33% from three. Assist to turnover ratio 2.8 to 1.2, which is good. I'm not going to qualm with that. For how much he's had the ball, that's actually a very low amount of turnovers and 1.6 steals. Has played well. I've seen it he should be the fifth starter. I wouldn't go that far. I just think what he does offensively, it makes the most sense to play him the least with Giannis and Dame, maybe out of everyone on the team. Not saying he can never play with either, but he is a guy they've been able to just give the ball to and say, go make something happen, and it works. That's just not true for most of the rest of the Bucks players. Very few of the others. So I think he's in a good role right now. I think he's going to remain in that role. Again, a little worried that the mid-range could dry up a little bit for him, but the rim pressure has been undeniably positive.
Yeah, it has been. But I do think what you're saying about it makes sense to play him without Dame and Giannis. It's probably why you see the reason when Dame isn't playing, it's still Ryan Rollins getting a start against the Wizards. Yeah. Where it's you still need an actual point guard type guy.
Just spacing. I mean, we've talked about that lineup. I mean, if you do like that in that example, KPJ, Prince, Kuzma, Giannis, Lopez. Your best shooter is obviously Prince, who's been very good. But then it's Brook and then two guys who for the season are at like 28%. And then Giannis, who is what, lower than that? 19%.
He's at 19%.
I think he made like his 8th or 7th three of the year against Miami. I mean, yeah.
I didn't think he was that bad, man. That's crazy.
He's at 19, but he just gave it up, 19.4%. I just don't think the spacing there, and even as the two guard with Dame, I just don't think you're getting enough spacing. I think it's got to be Trent or Green. We can talk about that in a little bit, but I also just think like, it's working right now. Let's leave it. I think this is a good role for Kevin Porter Jr. Let's just let him do his thing here.
Yeah, let's not try to do too much.
Yeah.
You don't need to be messing with it so much. No. I agree.
Okay, 5th starter. You want to do that? Or you have other player you want to talk about?
I guess we could do
our longest running segment ever.
It literally is. I mean, what do you think about Ryan Rollins at this point?
I thought
we didn't mention this about the Bob suspension though, but in 2 games the Bucks do get another. They get a hardship exemption, roster spot, and they also still have an open roster spot.
Yeah.
So Ryan, before the trade deadline, we were like, okay, you got to free up a spot for Ryan Rollins. They freed up a spot for Ryan Rollins. We're like, okay, cool, it's Ryan Rollins time. Might not be Ryan Rollins time.
I think it still is going to be. I
hope so, man. He's earned it.
The Wizards game was a big deal because he played very well with Kevin Porter Jr. And I just think you look at the buyout list and we examine this, and it's just bleak.
Yeah. If you want to hear our thoughts on the buyout, by the way, GSPN Premium, GSPN After Dark exclusive podcast. Check out gspn.info for the link to the subscription there. But yeah. You get an exclusive podcast every week, and what we talked about this week was bio candidates.
Yeah, we made the case for ourselves. Yeah. It
was a fun time.
It was not related to us being Hoopers, to say the least. But fair. Rollins, though, in that start, 15 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, and a block. 60% from the field. Crucially, knocked down 2 of 5 threes, which needs to continue hitting those. But I just think you put Rollins up next to the rest of the buyout market. It's like, would you rather have Ryan Rollins or Reggie Jackson? I mean, you're a Reggie Jackson guy. We learned on that pod. But I would rather have Ryan Rollins for sure, both because I think he's better right now. And if you convert Rollins, presumably you could like tack on another year and just have another cost-controlled player.
And if KPJ gets suspended.
Oh, that great point. Also, he's playing well enough that player option that at the trade deadline, it was like, oh, now he's probably going to be opt in and have another year. KPJ probably. I mean, if he stays like this, he's definitely not going to opt in. Maybe he would stay on a new contract, but he's not locked down to the Bucks long term unless he wants to be. Yeah. So at least have one of your cheap reserve guards around for next season on probably a minimum. But so I don't think it's over. I think it's obviously a little more dire though, and maybe with the Portis suspension they would look at more of a big to fill in, even though Sims is playing well, just to have another reserve option. I think Doc would rather check in himself than play Liam Robbins in a real NBA game.
I think that's fair.
Who's been hurt, but I think is okay now. But regardless,
he's asking Greg Buckner to suit up.
Yeah, Vin, yeah, Vin. That's
Vin
a great option. Is big, yeah. Put Vin out there. But they could also, to your point, maybe they just bring in a big, like on 10 days with their hardship things and then sign Rollins to the actual spot when that runs out or before. And they'd have to do it, pretty soon here. He's going to run out of active game days pretty soon. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's more fraught than it was pre-KPJ emergence for sure. They do different things though. So I don't think KPJ being a real player means you can't sign Rollins. I think they can play together. We saw it.
Yeah. And it's like, just insurance as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's just all like,
plus, I think Ryan, the Bucks are the type of organization that tries to do well by their players. So it's like, I think they would want to reward Ryan Rollins for like being a crucial part of this team all season long.
Yeah. And it's a good play to just keep him around because, Gary Trent Jr., Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., and Taurean Prince could all hit free agency this year.
So could Bob.
So could Bob. Like, you
not
just don't
the same
know.
Position, but still.
I mean, is Pat Connaughton going to be around, or will they find a move for him? Like, there's just going to be some upheaval.
What if he declines his player option to take the new GM job if John Horst leaves?
I don't think we want John Horst to leave anymore.
Yeah, he might have cooked.
I think it looks right now like he cooked. But yeah, I think Rollins, I would keep him around. I mean, everyone who listens knows that we're fans, but I think he's played well.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think is he cooked?
I think he has cooked. Ryan Rollins hasn't really done much of the two-way stuff, has he?
No, he has not played with the Herd this year.
He's just been an extra roster spot.
Yeah. Well, that's why the Herd are probably going to miss the playoffs. I don't think it's confirmed, but they're pretty far outside of it now. And you think about it, and outside of like A.J. Johnson, a little bit of Tyler Smith and Chris Livingston, their two-ways have not made a huge G League impact.
No.
Or have been down. I mean, Rollins has not been down there at all. And then Robbins and Amude have not had great seasons, to say the least, with the Herd.
Yeah, it's kind of been tough. Who was the guy? Oh, would Pashezniks have done better than Liam Robbins?
I don't think you could two-way him. Oh, yeah, you could. He was on a two-way.
He was on a two-way.
Maybe.
Because we were like, oh, man, we need to get Liam Robbins here for Pashezniks.
Yeah. Well, Liam is just younger. We just didn't know with Liam. I think we know Pashezniks sucks. Yeah. Sorry, AP, but we didn't know it about Liam. Maybe now we do, but it was worth finding out.
Yeah, he got his house in Iowa, I think.
If he wants it, yeah. I mean, he got the cash. That's what matters.
Yeah. But no, my thoughts on Rollins, I hope they sign him. That's all.
Yeah.
I think they will. I think they don't need any more bigs.
It would just be like an emergency guy. I don't even, again.
Especially with Biz getting his second 10-day with the Spurs, and he's probably going to be signed
playing
the rest
well
of the season.
There. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big win for you, Big Biz.
I'm nailing it around the margins lately. After my disastrous Shemi Ojale, I reformulated my strategy.
Is that the biggest argument we've ever had in the history of this podcast?
Probably.
I think it is. Which is crazy. We usually agree on a lot of things.
Yeah, you nailed that one though. You won the biggest argument. I hope we have a bigger one that I can win at some point.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's going to be a draft take for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we both lost. Ty versus Marjan.
Oh yeah, it was Ty for you, right?
Yeah, I love Ty that draft.
I think you won that still.
I mean, yeah.
He's on the Suns.
Marjan's on the Clippers. You know,
that's fair.
let's see if either of them get another contract this year. That'll give us an idea.
It's crazy that Ty is on the Suns and yet has had a bigger Bucks impact than Marjan.
Yeah. Marjan's legacy might end up being the guy who was traded for KPJ at this rate.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Straight out of, where is he from?
Yakima.
That's what I thought.
Yakima. So fun to say.
It really is. That's why I remembered it.
Yeah. Okay. Fifth starter.
I'm still gonna go Gary.
Okay. I was worried you're gonna be like, I've actually liked what I've seen from Taurean Prince lately.
Yeah, let's talk about why. Okay, before we say why there should be, like, who should be the fifth starter, let's talk about why there should be a change of the fifth starter. To put it bluntly, it's bad, right? I mean, it's not bad. I will say it's not bad, but it's like you can clearly see how it can be better.
Yeah, it's not been very good. I'll pull up the actual stat now, but the starters with Kuzma and Prince have not been effective for Milwaukee. And there's a lot of, like, when you talk about adding Gary or someone to the bench, there's this reaction of like, oh, you need to, they're playing so well in the bench units. It's like, that's cool. I don't care. Like, the main priority should be making sure the starters play well. You need to be great in the Giannis and Dame minutes. Like, kick ass in those minutes to win at a high level. And the Bucks just aren't well enough right now. Let's see. Dame, Giannis, Brook, Kuzma, Prince. In 2 games, it's like, it's 20 minutes, 19 minutes. So obviously it's a small sample. But they've lost those minutes. Net rating of -3.
They have, yeah.
And that's not good. Again, you want, let's see, what's the total there? Oh, it took away my filters. Whatever. They've lost those minutes. You need to win your starting lineup minutes consistently. And as we talked about, these teams they're playing have not been great. It's not like, it's tough to beat the Celtics. No, it's the Wizards. It's the Clippers, who are good, sneaky, sly raccoon level contenders, but not great. In the Heat, who are just like, okay, we're just extremely mid now. That's our new identity. So I criticized Prince earlier. He does have some frustrating habits. It's not all his fault. He's just not a good player type. It's the same argument against Andre Jackson Jr. for a different reason. He's just not what they need. The shooting, yes, but they need someone who can guard guards. They put him on Hero, and it was immediately non-functional. Like, just couldn't do it. And they just need someone who can do that in that role, pretty obviously. So I think
he's just not a 2 guard.
No, he should be like a 3.5, not a 1.5.
He's a 3 you try to scale down, not a 3 you try to scale up.
Yeah.
It's just not who he is. I don't even think it's his fault.
No, I don't either. I think I get why Doc went to him first because he started so much of the season and whatever. I like the idea of Trent. I think his defense can be inconsistent at times. I would probably favor AJ Green as a defender only. I do question his ball handling decisions, but again, in that unit, you don't need a ton of that. So honestly, hot take, I don't even care. One of those two. I think it's just got to be one of those two. I'm not here to like haggle over the fine points of each. I see the case for like, I want Trent off the bench because he's been good there, right? He's been a spark plug. Fine. I mean, he was a really bad starter. He's also just not shooting well, period, then. I would probably try Green first, but Trent is playing better right now, and you kind of want to give it to the guy who's earned it. So I don't know, but I think either would be better than Prince.
Yeah, I think either would be better than Prince. I would lean Gary more because, like, I don't know, I'd like to see AJ like kind of. You know what? I think I'm at your point. I don't think it matters.
Yeah,
I think it's fine. I'd lean Gary just more as like a vet and like he's been around.
Also, AJ's fouling has just been a problem lately. It's not good to start a game like, okay, you're a foul away from the bonus at like the 8-minute mark of the first quarter. It's just not ideal.
No, it's not good. He's kind of been having some bad moments defensively, which is not very AJ Greeny.
I think it's like a focus for the Bucks to like kind of go after the ball and be physical, but he got a strip I think calls. Later in it, but he's not. Yeah,
he's not getting the benefit perfect. Of the doubt.
He's got to be perfect when he goes for the swipe.
Yeah. What is it? Oh, I'm not going to say it. Okay. But I just, I don't think, I don't think it necessarily matters. I think both would succeed in the role and would lead to better outcomes for the team. I think Gary with a little bit more on-ball juice is probably fine, just in case, like playing, and he knows how to play well with these other guys. Like I trust Gary Trent Jr. to attack the closeout more than I do AJ Green.
Yeah, I don't think Green just doesn't.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think I've seen him attack a closeout.
He attacks a closeout by pump faking and shooting a different 3, which is fine. He knows his role.
And then he does a standing broad jump to the left or the right. And it's just like, bro, you can go forward, right? Like there's other. It's like he's trying to play a video game on his laptop or something, and it's like his W key is broken. He can only use A, S, and D. Like just he can't go forward. He can only strafe or go backwards.
And the starter option is not Andre Jackson Jr. because he has the same restriction for some reason.
Yes.
Which it's even more damaging because the outside shot isn't there either, so it's just a pass machine.
Yeah. RIP to Ajax, by the way.
Yeah, I mean they couldn't. They put him in for like 1 minute to defend Hero. Yeah, it doesn't. What he brought, it was like out of necessity, and the necessity is not there.
No, they now
the rotation
are
is athletic.
More athletic.
Yeah.
Kuz, Sims, and KBJ have just excised him.
They subtracted like the Bucks' second least athletic player as well. So there's kind of in Chris. So you kind of were always moving that way.
Who's the most least athletic player? Or is it most least? Who's
most least? Yeah.
Who's the least athletic player? I'm telling you, the brain's not there.
I mean, in raw speed, it's Brook. You could make a case that he's more athletic for like his size or position.
I think there was one possession in that Wizards game that really had a competition to see who was the least athletic.
Yeah, I mean, Brooke did block the hell out of Chris, so maybe
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So maybe that. By the way, we haven't talked about it much. After the demise of Brooke Lopez in a reduced role, he's been largely very good on this winning streak.
He's been large. He's
been in charge. He's blocked a lot of shots. Struggled a bit against Miami, which makes sense, but still had some big moments late. Yeah, still had some big moments late in that game, though.
Bam's just a tough cover for him.
They've been able to rely on him a bit offensively, and it kind of works.
Who, Brooke?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're okay with it. Like, they went to him, like, in the last couple possessions of that game.
That whiz game. Just grind it out. Yeah.
And I remember Marcus, when Kuzma took a three, Marcus was just like, give the ball to Brooke Lopez, you dummy. Like, he didn't actually say that like that, but he was basically calling Kyle Kuzma a bum for not giving the ball to Brooke
Well, Doc,
Lopez.
after the game, was like, we'll forgive it, in his hero ball moment because we won or something. Like, Doc is so funny, dude.
I love Doc. I don't know why people hated Doc, man.
It's just like, it is what it is. You
got to embrace it.
You just have to embrace it.
Because otherwise, what are you going to do? Get angry at everything?
That's how a lot of people like to live.
That's fair.
Especially online.
It's kind of sad.
It's very sad.
It's fun to enjoy things.
Yeah.
I like enjoying things.
I feel like I'm starting to enjoy basketball more. Not just these last 4 games, but I'm just like, I'm just gonna try and enjoy watching the team. Isn't that the point of like following a sports team?
Yeah, trying to enjoy it.
Even us as like, we made ourselves analysts of the team. Like, it's still fun to watch basketball.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of this.
I love watching basketball.
This entire league.
Every time I plan a trip, I try to plan a trip if I plan a trip to a city, I can't talk with an NBA team. I try to go see that NBA team because I like basketball.
Yeah, I go to like
see Chris
20 Herd games a year. I'm going to go see
Chris next month.
Yeah, hopefully.
I
think he's playing tonight.
Nice. I mean, he'll hopefully be there. We're going to cheer for him, but
yeah,
even if he's on the bench, I'm going to be like, great job, Chris.
One of the baller part of I think it was Eric Name's story on Chris, or maybe it was Jim. I can't. They both wrote great stories on Chris interviewing him. He got the word that there was a trade, and they were in Charlotte, I think, to play the Hornets that day. And he just like drove to his home in South Carolina and just told the Wiz, like, I'll hit you up later, basically. That rips, dude. Like, talk about a power move. The Wizards didn't care. Maybe if they cared, he wouldn't have done it. But the way he tells it, he's just like, I got to clear my mind. I'm going home. I'll see you guys eventually. Like, what a boss.
You'll see me when you see me.
Yeah, I'll show up. I'll show up later.
Freaking Middleton.
I know the deal with you guys, so I'll be there when I'm feeling it. I'll be there before we play the Bucks. Then who knows?
Yeah, might go into a darkness retreat. No, I'm not going to put that on Chris.
Jeez. Wow.
No. Who was I going after last time? I don't even remember.
It's a long list. CJ McCollum always, though.
Yeah, it's always that few CJ McCollum.
Yeah.
That one I stand behind for sure.
You got to.
What were we talking about?
The fifth starter thing. I think we've gotten through it. We'll see tomorrow night. They play Houston in Houston. Big game because they've just been so bad on the road. And eventually, again, we're looking at the upside here as like the 4th seed probably. Although they're now equidistant from 3 and from 7. So kind of a crossroads moment before this really hard month. Like, you're going to end up closer to the play-in or closer to the 3rd seed. We'll see. The Knicks have been stumbling a little bit with a tough schedule.
The Knicks also cannot beat the top teams, which is good.
Yeah. But you're going to have to figure out...
the Bucks can't beat the Knicks.
That's the issue. But the Bucks are going to have to figure out how to win on the road, both for the season and for the playoffs. If you're topping out as the 4th seed and maybe like a 5th or below seed, if you don't win on the road, you're not going to win any series again. So good test against the Rockets. Then Thursday, they host the Nuggets. And then Saturday, they're in Dallas, a little mini road trip. And then Tuesday, March 4th is the start of that hell stretch I mentioned earlier. Hawks, Mavs back-to-back, and then they don't have 2 straight days off until, I think, April. So it's going to be a very tough road for the Bucks. They have to start stronger. That's why the starting lineup thing is such a big deal, because they're winning these games, and it's all late comebacks, and that's great. It's the winning time that matters, whatever, sure. It's just not sustainable to have to dig yourself out of a hole every single game. It's not going to hold up. It's not how you get a better playoff seed. They need to start controlling some games in a better sense. So good chance to do it.
2 days off the rest of the season.
They have 2 days off. March 3 and 4. But yeah, that's it.
What? March 2, 3, 6, 7.
Yeah, 2 and 3.
Yeah, and then after the March 7th, they don't have 2 days off the rest of the season.
Yeah, oh, it goes all the way through the end. Oh yeah, because they changed the end of the season. So I did this before the year. They had to reschedule games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they end with a Pistons. Oh no, not a back-to-back, but 2 against the Pistons, which would be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Also important 2 games in that stretch in March. 2 games against the Pacers same week, who you're currently jockeying for position with.
Both at home.
No.
Neither a back-to-back.
No. One of them is away.
The second one is the first of a back-to-back, and then they host the Thunder.
The one on March 11th is away.
I saw Lakers Pacers next to each other, and I saw that. So yeah, you just need to win one though. Bucks are 2-0 against them, so win either one, and you secure home court. Or you secure the tiebreaker.
You win the season series.
Yep. Yeah, you secure the tiebreaker against them.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough stretch, but who knows? The Bucks are looking good though.
Yeah, tough stretch. I mean, you got some bad teams in there. Sixers, Suns, but some good teams.
What's your biggest win and what's your biggest loss for this Bucks? Like, what's your bright spot, low point for the Bucks in the last week? My bright spot is Jericho Sims.
Yeah,
is my bright spot because just like seeing him get unlocked and like playing for the Bucks and him immediately having the impact that we thought he would be, incredible, just amazing. And I wish that could just continue forever because I love it so much. Yeah, and probably a low point is just like seeing the Torian Prince at Tyler Hero.
Yeah. Yeah, the Heat game was one of the tougher ones. I'll say, my low point might have been...
Sorry for just throwing a new segment at you.
No, that's okay. Giannis fouling out of the Wizards game felt bad in the moment. Because it was like, oh, it's so classic Bucks if they lose this Middleton revenge game. And it's not even like he didn't even play amazing. Like they get diced up by Alex Sarr and Corey Kispert. That's just nasty for a team, again, that's like scrapping to get up to 4, which is not a great seed in the first place. And then the bright spot, I mean, you took some good ones. I will say just having lineups that don't rely entirely on Giannis and Dame and they work. So the defensive lead of just like Sims at the 5, really shutting things down. And Kuzma both ways. Kuzma's been a key contributor on both ends of the ball. And then offensively, KPJ, and a little bit of defense too, but really I think strongest on offense, giving them a big spark. And it's just like, again, that's good. Now let's figure out the starting 5 as well, and the Bucks will really be cooking.
Yeah. I saw a great tweet from Bucks Breakdown that I'm trying to find right now. But it was essentially to the point of like what you were saying about like these lineups without Giannis and Dame working. I think it was a photo of KPJ, AJ Green, Jericho Sims, Kyle Kuzma, and they're all like celebrating. And they said, if you showed me this picture before the season started, to ask how many picks they got for Giannis.
Yeah, that's exactly. I had the same thought seeing that photo of like if you showed me that, or I saw somebody I think else posted it and just was like, what would you have thought if you saw this pick before the season? And my idea was like, yeah, like wow, They really traded Giannis, huh? Yeah, and somebody tried to call out. I saw a tweet of like, Giannis has to play with Jericho Sims and Kevin Porter Jr. Like, what have the Bucks done or something? And then those 2 players lead the comeback in the 4th quarter. And Bucks Twitter had some fun with that one.
I'll say the Bucks bench just being incredible now is wild. Like they went from genuinely like they had a strong bench. I mean, like you had Gary, you had AJ Green, like Ryan Rollins.
It wasn't balanced.
It wasn't. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. It's not like a balanced bench, but now they have like a balanced bench that can work as its own self-functioning unit, but also interchange parts within around stars.
They added a real 5, which they did not have, and a a better offensive one. I wouldn't even say like true point guard. Like I think Rollins is a better play creator for others.
KBJ is a 2. But he's like a self-creating 2.
Yeah, he's like he'll get some assists just because he creates big advantages and then it's easy, but it doesn't. I don't think he's like a natural floor general in the same way, but that's fine. They don't need him to be. I'm not trying to extract more out of this guy. I just let him keep doing what he's doing right now and lead these bench units and just keep the scoreboard moving when Giannis and mostly Giannis sits, and that's huge. But yeah, they added the 2 pieces they needed because I feel like their bench was like all 2 through 4 guys. That's all we got. So again, if Brook or Giannis was out or in foul trouble or something, the balance was just not there, or Dame was missing time. They didn't have enough shot creation, and now they're a lot more leveled out in a good way.
Yeah. Is Pat hurt or is he just not dressing?
Hurt.
He's hurt? Oh.
Calf strain.
Yes, that's what it is. Thank you.
So he and Bob are the only Bucks who are ruled below probable for this Tuesday night game. They are both out already, and then Giannis is probable with his calf strain. And Gary Trent Jr. is probable with a contusion after he took a hard hit against Miami.
And then Giannis just healed it.
Yeah. That was a crazy moment. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good place to end. I've never seen a player do this before. Gary's like down and looks hurt. After he took a hard fall, or was it a screen? I don't remember what happened to him.
He was getting fouled, I think.
Yeah, he got popped and hit the ground hard. And he kind of like holds at his knee. And Giannis like moves his hand away, starts rubbing his knee, and just pulls him off the ground before Gary was trying to get up. Just like, no, you're okay.
I've never seen that.
I was watching that. Like, 1, I hope you're not like twisting Gary's knee to hell right now. 2, hilarious that Giannis, it's like his version of like when Kawhi in college said, why do we need help defense? Like, just guard your man. Giannis is like, just heal.
Yeah,
it's not a big deal.
Come on, I do it all the time.
It's just, have you considered healing yourself?
Yeah. Aren't you Wolverine like I am?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That was a really funny moment.
Like, imagine, like, knock on wood, like if Gary had just like completely blown apart his knee, and
honestly just pulling him up, rubbing it, and then pulling him up onto it. It was a crazy thing to do.
Like, that would have been, it's like he's just rubbing his knee there.
I'd never seen that before in my life. Also, Giannis, I think now is doing this on purpose. Did you hear Dame's post-game interview after hit that corner? Ooh, it was as good of a performance as Jello himself gave at All-Star.
Jello, not a great live performer.
No, it's probably his first time ever doing that. So tough.
He did
tough
it
start.
at the NFC Championship.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Second time.
Yeah, but that one wasn't televised.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. But it's like, bro, you did this in an NFL stadium.
I feel like it would be easier just to get like the crowd hype versus the television product part of it is harder.
Yeah, that's what I think.
He was set up to lose, but yeah, he did lose.
He did lose. But Dame just not breaking character is incredible. Like, you can feel him pause for a second, and he's like, I just got to keep going.
It's going to become a trend now, I feel. I don't know if Giannis is going to have enough stuff to go all year. We'll see, but he clearly enjoys audio bombing Dame like that.
Yeah, it's very fun. It's good content. Be honest, why are you rubbing Gary's knee?
It's insane. Giannis's rate of discovering like what's going on online is speeding up rapidly. He was like 2 years late to Hawk Tua, only a few months late to Tweakin'. So we'll see. I don't know what else has happened, but he's gonna be doing the White Lotus theme song next week.
I don't even know the White Lotus theme song.
It's instrumental, so it'd be like kind of just making noises.
He does that a lot, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we do that a lot here on this podcast, which we're happy and thank you for listening to this episode of the Gyro Step here on Blue Wire and GSPN, presented by our great friends / pals / people, just great friends over at Prize Picks.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was doing there, but wherever you're listening,
we get emotional when we talk about Prize Picks, and then we get lost sometimes. Yeah.
But yeah, wherever you're listening, make sure you're subscribed, your podcast platform of choice, YouTube, or if you are listening commercial free on GSPN Premium, you can find that link at gspn.info. Like we mentioned earlier, if you want to hear our thoughts on like potential buyout guys for the Bucks, Ty and I, we did a GSPN After Dark episode about that, which you can find. It's $8 a month, supports the team. But yeah, great content. But yeah, make sure you subscribe, like I mentioned earlier. Leave a 5-star rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. Pod Random. And we'll talk to you next time.